1911 Velie. That's right. You might be thinking, how on earth are they going to get this old car to travel that far? Well, they do it, and they've loved doing this. They've done it for many years now as a father and son duo. Good morning, guys.
Good morning.
How you doing today?
Good.
All right, tell me, really quickly, do people look at you and go, how do you get this heap of metal across country?
They do. That's one of their biggest questions, and they go, what happens if it rains?
Yeah, what happens if it rains? What happens if it breaks down? The sometimes heartbreaking story, but the fun story, too, of how these two guys are going to make it cross country and see if they can win. We for a ride, and Doug and Howard. What are you guys doing? I'll tell you, this is a ball. We're having a really good time this morning. This is Douglas Sharp. This is Howard Sharp, father and son duo. Don't they look alike? I think you guys look alike. We're talking about the great race. We're talking about the great race. It's the country's longest vintage automobile race, and literally it's cross country. They take this 1911 Velie, this old car, and they travel more than 4,000 miles. Doug, you guys are going from Philadelphia to San Rafael, California.
Correct.
June 24th is the race.
Yep.
It's a 2-week race.
Yep.
Tell me why you do this. I mean, people must say, how do you get this heap of metal to go that far?
Ultimately to showcase the car across country. It's phenomenal to take across country to let people see what America made back in the early teens. It's really impressive.
This is a race that includes 100 vehicles, but thousands of people are really taking part in this. You go through some old back roads. If you think they're going to take this car on the expressway, Howard, you guys are taking some really out-of-the-way roads, right?
Yeah, we take a lot of bad roads. We take roads where parts actually fall off the car. The roads are really rough. You're traveling 40 miles an hour on roads that just are not designed to run this car 40 miles an hour on.
When did you get this car? Because I asked you, where do you find a 1911 vehicle?
Well, this came out of the Pioneer Auto Museum in Myrtle, South Dakota in 1993.
Okay.
And it was totally restored by some folks in Fairport, Bob Dilger and Ken Willard. And the thing's just a great piece of iron, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of labor put in this car.
The really cool thing, if we can take a look at some of the video about this great race, explain what this is. This is in its 24th year, and literally it's an automobile race, but it's not like NASCAR, what people think of as car racing, right?
No, it's more of a timed endurance event, and just being able to get your iron across America and not wear yourself out in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
To get to the finish line.
And you talked about wearing yourself out. Literally, you guys, this car is so tight inside, and you're driving 10 hours a day, right?
You're driving between 350 and 425 miles per day.
In a vehicle that, I mean, you're not talking a car that has any modern day comforts at all, right, Doug? I mean, this is as basic as it gets.
Yep. All we got are leather seats when you check the box. We have a convertible, if you want to call it that.
And you're facing the elements.
Yes, we're always facing the elements. We have 2 windshields that kind of hold back the bugs, but it's really tough. It's hard on you every day.
Yeah.
If it rains, we get really wet.
Yeah.
We do try to dry off as quickly as possible.
I love it. This car is such a trip because literally I'm not that tall, but Howard is, and you're crunched up in this thing for 10 hours a day.
Yep.
You won back in 93 and in 02, and coming up we're going to talk about that, their victory. And the victory dance you guys did, because I'm sure you did, and hear more about the great race and what your strategy is for this year. You got a strategy?
Yeah, we got a strategy.
Yeah, to win.
The W.
Yay! Right?
Hey, Norma?
Yeah?
Do they drive back home?
Do you drive back home in this thing?
No, actually, this will be brought home on the trailer, and
Okay.
we're going to fly home.
They're going to fly home, and they're going to
Okay.
Napa. They're going to Napa for 2 weeks afterward.
One way's enough.
Imagine driving together for all that time for 2 weeks.
We get apart. We separate after.
Yeah, exactly. They break up. Yeah, they break up.
Thank you, Norma.
Thanks, Norma.
We'll be right.
Patience, if you will. That's how they're going to make it through this race. We're talking about the great race. It's a cross-country race, but in very old vehicles. And this year, as they have for several years, this is Doug and Howard Sharp, a father and son duo. And the cool thing is, you guys have been racing since 1991, okay? And now here you are, 2006. You've won how many times? Twice. Basically beat out everybody. So tell me, this race, the great race, how would you describe it?
The Great Race is an adventure of a lifetime.
Yeah.
That's always their key term for it. It's a cross-country race with 100 competing antique vehicles. We happen to drive the oldest one, so we work the hardest, but we have the most fun out there.
Yeah, you do drive, and it's the oldest in the race. It's from 1911. It's the 1911 Velie, right, Howard?
Yes, it is.
And this vehicle you actually had to rebuild it, didn't you? Like basically from the ground up, right?
Yeah, we weren't originally going to do that, but then we got into so much difficulty. It was just easier to take it apart and start all over again, and that's exactly what we did.
Yeah.
And we've just been maintaining it since then.
You're competing against 100 other drivers going from Philadelphia to California, 4,280 miles. How do you drive that long a distance without getting sick of each other and sick of the car?
Well, we're okay with all that. I mean, the biggest thing is the elements of the weather and this and that you're combating all the time. And
The
I've
rain.
always got an ear to the car. Doug's always yelling at me, turn here, turn there, go this speed, go that speed. It's like, whoa. You know, at the end of the day, in 10 hours, you're pretty well trashed. Then you come in, you're on display for 2 hours, then you have to turn around and try to fix your car, find something to eat, go to bed, get back up 4 o'clock again.
Stuff
and you do that
breaks.
for 10 days straight, so your body's worn out.
Stuff breaks.
Oh,
on
yeah,
a,
stuff
on a
breaks
new
on the
vehicle,
car.
especially an old one.
Yeah.
What's the worst thing that's ever happened to you on this race?
With the rear end go out in the car one year, we had the overdrive go out in the car. We've had numerous flat tires. Flat tires are a disaster.
Hey, Norma?
for the car. They take like a day to change.
Yeah, really? Hey, Doug, what's up?
Well, an hour, but it's a project.
Hey, Doug?
I was just wondering, since Doug is the kid and Howard is the dad, does the child ever ask, Dad, are we there yet?
Yeah, do you ever ask your dad, are we there yet? Interestingly enough, Doug, you're the navigator,
I am the
He's the
navigator.
one
and
that
Dad
knows.
is the driver.
Yeah.
And there's some disagreement as to whether, who's smarter. Is the navigator or the driver smarter?
We will
Navigator
check
has
back, Norma.
all the knowledge, because it tells you where to go.
Okay.
I can always threaten by
All right.
throwing the instructions out the...
There you go. Father and son love. We'll see you back in just a bit.
All
Hope
right.
there's a lot of gas stations on the route if you get all those flat tires.
Yeah.
Not fun.
Yes, we did.
In 2002, though, you drove the
We-
Velie, the
right, we
1911 Velie.
Yep.
And I love that you've got the trophies to prove it. You guys are so proud of your trophies this morning. You
Yeah,
even
we
brought
are.
them out. And the awesome thing, and if we could just show the video of you guys working on this vehicle, the Great Race is a cross-country trip, a cross-country race in vintage vehicles.
Yep.
100 years old. You guys have the oldest car in the pack, right?
We are the oldest car in the Great Race, yes.
Doug, tell me what it's like to work with your dad so closely. You basically drive together for 2 weeks cross-country from Philly to California.
Yep, we have to work together really well. If you can't work together, you're not going to win the race. You're not going to be competitive. So it's really important for us to work together. I watch what he does. He watches what I do. It's checks and balance all the way across country.
You've talked about some of the breakdowns you've had. In NASCAR, they've got the pit guys that fix stuff real quick. You could be working on something for a really long time, though, if like a tire blows out, right?
Yep. Takes an hour to about change tire on this thing, and it kind of wrecks your whole day.
Yeah.
It really does.
What-
But we get back on the road and go again, as you can see from the video.
One thing I
we
find-
go through a lot of trauma.
Yeah, you do. And it is
Yeah.
physically taxing on your body. I mean, if you can think of this, Doug and Holly, this is not a large, area to sit in. If you can just
Yeah.
out of the way for a second there, Howard, and Howard's a tall guy. You guys are tall. There's not a lot of room in there to
Yeah.
sit in. I mean, you're
It's
kind of
cozy.
cramped up. You guys actually lost weight to fit into this vehicle, right?
Well, to fit into it better, because the seats aren't wide enough.
Yeah.
So Doug and I have lost, 60, 70 pounds.
Oh my
apiece.
goodness.
If you can believe it, I couldn't believe it. You guys had to do that. And something really kind of cool, too, the directions. Each day on the race, each leg of the race, so to speak, you get a set of directions, right?
Yes.
And you basically have to follow them to the T.
Exactly. We have a set of course instructions that they give us each day to follow. If we don't follow them, we get a really bad score. So it's important that we, step by step, they tell us exactly where to go, how fast, for how long. So our speedometer and our time of day clock are most important.
Speaking of speedometer, this vehicle only goes 50 miles an hour.
Correct. We travel 50 miles an hour, top speed across America.
The thing I love, too, is the instructions, the directions that they get. Holly and Doug, they got to drive out in the open elements. If it rains, you get wet. But not the directions, because this is interesting.
They're waterproof, so they
Waterproof,
put a
too.
coating on them so that if it is raining, it's very difficult to write on them, but you can at least see where you're supposed
Isn't
to
that?
go.
And it feels
Norma?
just like regular paper. Yeah, Doug.
Are they able, with all the concentration they have to have, are they able to enjoy the ride?
Do you enjoy the ride because of all the concentration you have to do? Do you ever really get to look out the window and go, wow, America's really beautiful?
No, I look at that speed dial all the way across America. I see very little of America.
You're
Trust me.
driving 10 hours a day, too.
Very little. If I don't watch the speed dial, we're messed.
This year's race starts in Philly. And you go to San Rafael, California.
Yep.
June 24th.
Yep.
All right, what's this year's objective? You're taking the Velie.
Yep, we're going to take the Velie and we're going to win.
Okay, and what's the
Again.
top prize? Tell us what the top prize is. I think this is really cool.
It's a money award.
But what else do you get out of it? Because clearly you guys love this.
Well, you get a lot of self-satisfaction out of doing what you're doing.
You get the
And being with your
gratification to say we're the
family.
winners.
Yeah.
You know, and when you're on top, you're on top, and
Hey.
that's really cool.
Settle the quick thing. You're the navigator, you're the driver. Or is it the
No,
other way
I'm
around?
the driver.
Who's smarter then?
The navigator.
Of course, of course. So you can say, are we there yet, Dad?
Yes.
Yeah.
Are we there yet? No, he asked me how much further, and I go, just keep driving. We'll be there sometime.
For more information, check out our website, thegreatrace.com. It's really an interesting race. Check it out.
Norma, if they added a third seat, you could be the back seat driver.
I could be the back seat driver. I'm good at that now already.
You're getting better.
I'm getting better. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody. That
That's
was fun.
wonderful, though. They're going to look back on all
that's
these wonderful
great.
memories that the two of them have shared together and have so many great pictures. There's DVDs about this great race and everything.
If you get a
so-
chance to drive across the country, do it. It's a great,
Yeah.
great ride.
Yeah, Doug and I are going to go soon.
Yes, that's right.
For
Norma's
our
gonna hold
newest